I just want to be remembered as a guy who cares, first and foremost, and who's intelligent and, does the right thing and could be a role model for younger guys. Hopefully, I'm leaving fond memories behind for people to, look back on and say, oh, that was a great person. And on the court, he was definitely a warrior, and he always gave it all he had, and he was a winner.
Today's feature is another down that throwback line of early 2000s players that every young player needs to be aware of, study, and can implement pieces of his game into theirs. Listed at 6 foot, but probably closer to 5'9" than that, height nor size ever stopped him in this giant of a sport. No sir, because this guy proved to be a giant himself, one of the biggest of his era. There's a saying that goes, it takes a small man with a big heart to do the little things big man can. Well, actually I just made that up, but you get the picture. Sean Michael Eli Singletary, born September 6, 1985. The little man big dreams cast in his leading role. Hold up, let me stop. Let's visit 3 reasons. Although he had one of the best college careers individually of his time, he was a 2nd round pick and out of the league almost as soon as he started. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Born and raised in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area to a boxer of a father, Singletary learned at an early age how to compete and fight for everything. He also learned how to remain confident and persistent even when the odds are stacked against you. And at his height, odds stacked against is something he found himself inherently attached to. Growing up, he was a standout wide receiver and point guard, but ultimately chose the latter as his life focus. By his senior year of high school, he was sort of in the middle of the pack as a top 60 overall recruit and 10th best point guard in the nation. That all changed when he entered his school of choice, the University of Virginia. What the university and his fans I'm sure didn't know at the time was that they had a 3-time all-conference player, 4-year starter of every game, and big shot maker on their hands, whose jersey would later hang in the rafters as one of, if not the best to ever wear the jersey. In his freshman season, Singletary averaged 10 points, 3 assists, and was an all-ACC freshman team performer. He was the only player on his team to start every game, something he'd get used to in his 4 years. As a sophomore is where he'd really begin to shine. Judging by the numbers he'd put up by the end of this season, he could have absolutely left early for the NBA, especially in today's era. But at the time, he still had more to prove at that size and lack of team success at just a 15-15 record, 7-9 in the conference for 7th place, and missing the NCAA tournament completely, settling for the NIT. But Sean was arguably the brightest spot the school has ever had. He averaged an incredible 17.7 points, 4.2 assists, 4.4 rebounds, was all ACC, and scored a career-high 35 points against the Adam Morrison-led Gonzaga, although his team lost. He was the player of the year for the state of Virginia and defeated North Carolina in the ACC tournament, putting up a double-double of 29 points and 10 rebounds. Stunt number 1, the beginning of a long road. During Sean's sophomore year, he suffered a minor hip injury that he would continue to play with from this point throughout his basketball career. But that wouldn't stop him from continuing to improve every year and dominate from the point guard position in college. He'd have a new career high as a junior of 37 on Gonzaga in a win this second time around. A last-second shot against Duke University to give UVA a 68-66 win on February 1st and their first NCAA tournament appearance since 2001. He ended the year averaging 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 1.2 steals, and his second All-ACC First Team award. The team lost in the second round, although Singletary had a great year and showed improvement. This was now a very crucial offseason for him because what many didn't know, and I'm sure Sean didn't think was that big of a deal, was that leaving now, after 2 seasons of great individual success and a hip injury that was getting progressively worse, was in hindsight probably the best thing for his long-term career. Because of the injury, he would be forced into a hip surgery, and at the most inopportune time you could possibly have it. As we'll see, it cost him to fall to a draft round that gives a player no guarantee and enormous amounts of instability. For a guy with an injury such as his, Sean would experience all these things. A hip injury, if not taken seriously, can be one of the worst you can suffer as a basketball player. Unfortunately for Sean, his was taken seriously, but just right before the NBA draft. Stunt number 2, the hip bone connected to the draft round, connected to the contract. Sean Singletary, in my opinion, had no on-court basketball stunts. You could argue he wasn't big enough or the best shooter, and that's fair. But a healthy, athletic, quick, ferocious Singletary would have had something to say about that. The reasons he wasn't able to have as much NBA success as he saw NCAA success is simply because his injuries took a large percentage of what made him excel, especially for his size. After deciding to return to UVA, Singletary'd have another great season in where he started every game once again, improved his scoring to 19.8 and assists to 6.1 per game. But his team was terrible at just 17-16 and had a 5-11 record in the ACC and failed to make the tourney again. He would then have the surgery in the offseason, and this made him fall to the second round and 42nd overall pick in the 2008 NBA draft, a draft that had some game changers at his position that were at least 3 years, some 4 years younger than him and 100% healthy. Being a 4-year college player that didn't win at a high level and also had this boogeyman of an injury, teams just didn't see a future. Most of them at least. Although he was still drafted, he was traded multiple times in his first season and never could get his NBA footing. Stunt number 3, there was just no getting over it. Injuries, that is. Singletary's first season was a whirlwind of trades and waivers that landed him in Phoenix for 13 games and Charlotte for 24. He spent time in the D-League, months with teams only to be traded or waived and not playing a game, for example the contract with the Sixers, and many years playing overseas where he'd struggle fitting into a role player's role, all while being away from his family. He also suffered another injury in the D-League, this time to his knee, that ended his season and ultimately his career. And that was it, brief and non-climatic. He would go on to become a basketball skills coach in top camps across the nation and personal trainer, holding events across the country and especially in Charlottesville, Virginia, where he's a local celebrity and accepted as part of the family. All in all, I gotta say how enjoyable it was to watch him go against guys twice his size in stature and notoriety and see him completely dominate them with his heart, quickness, and skills. He was a great individual player, and although he didn't win, taught many players a lot then and now. He seems to be a smart, caring guy with a knack for teaching whoever will listen, and great father. Salute to Sean, and I wish him nothing but continued success. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth, and I'm out.